Welcome to 5 and 5 from the One Stop Co-op Shop, where I discuss 5 key elements of a game in about 5 minutes. I'm Michael Kelly, and today I'm looking at ISS Vanguard from Awakened Realms. And disclaimer that I was sent a review copy of this one. Like a lot of games I've been covering recently, ISS Vanguard is a huge narrative campaign game, but this one's all focused on sci-fi exploration, which is something I tend to love. How did I feel about it here? Let's find out and get to the list. So first for my number 5, I'm starting with a full-on con, and that is the potential for grind and repetition in the game. Now this is my number 5 because it doesn't happen too often. So far, about halfway through the campaign for me, it's maybe like happened in a major way twice. But sometimes in your space exploration and your planet exploration, you're left out of position, or you haven't unlocked a new planet yet, or a new technology, like you're waiting on one to allow you to progress. And that might require you to go back to a planet you've already been to, sometimes a planet you've already been to a few times. And I'll talk about this a bit more later, but one of the best parts of the game is the sense of discovery and exploration in going to new planets and seeing what happens. So when you return to a planet, the second time is usually still a few things to find, but I've been back to some planets 3 or 4 times just because of how the campaign kind of played out, and there was like nothing interesting to do in them, but it still takes a while to play through them. Like the game is not fast even when you go to an old planet. So that's one frustration point that again might not show up for you almost at all in the campaign, but when it does, it doesn't feel great. But my number 4 is a full-on pro, and that's the story in the game and the writing. Like many Awakened Realms products, this has excellent writing. Like, I haven't found very many errors, but even beyond that, it's just kind of engaging and interesting. Now, at least so far, it's a more linear path than I thought it might be, but it does look like in the second half of the campaign, once I get to it, there's going to be a bit more branching. But even with that being the case, the world building is evocative. A lot of the entries are written as kind of like dialogue back and forth between characters, and especially if you use the official app, which has voice acting for these and different actors playing them, doing a really good job. It's like so immersive, so interesting, and yeah, I just find like the story very compelling, and I want to see where it goes. But I'm back down to a mix for my number 3, which is focused on the ship management phase. Basically, the game goes between 2 phases. The meteor one is the planet exploration, but then you come back to your ship and manage things here every once in a while. And on the positive side, it walks you through things very cleanly. It has like sleeves and all the relevant positions to actually hold cards for you, so everything's kept nicely organized. And it has these great research tech trees and production tech trees that remind me of things like the XCOM video games, where you get to cooler and cooler stuff and unlock better and better things as you go along. It's really exciting and engaging. But on the negative side, sometimes progressing through all of this and like taking cards in and out of the sleeves can feel like busy work. And things can also get pretty fiddly pretty fast because you can get a ton of crew members, and keeping track of all of them and like going through them to try to find these little icons in the upper left, which can be key for ship actions, can be a little annoying sometimes. And similarly, you can pretty quickly unlock so many equipment cards, and then when you're looking at them and deciding which ones to bring with you on a mission, you only use a few on each mission, but you have the entire stack available to look through when you're getting ready. That can also be a fiddly annoyance. But I'm back to a full pro for my number 2, something I mentioned already, which is the great sense of discovery. And this is especially true on the planet boards. You have different locations to explore. They'll get covered up by other cards, unlocking even more things. You read log entries as you go. And the planets so far have really nice variety as well. They have like different threats you have to face, different environmental things to overcome. Some of them are more varied in that you like shuffle up a bunch of cards when you first go to them. Other ones are more linear, but have more like kind of epic story moments built into them. Yes, you'll see the same epic story moments if you play again, but it's still really cool the first time. Now, as I said earlier, this excitement of discovery goes away quite a lot if you have to come back to a planet, but you're not forced to do that too often. And yeah, the first time at each planet is a total blast, and there's about 20 of them in the game, so pretty cool stuff going on there. And finally, my number 1, also a pro, though with some caveats. This is the most mechanically kind of involved part of the game, and that is in the planet exploration, to take any actions, to do tests, to resolve things, you need to use these action dice you have on each of your players' boards. And this is mostly all positive. The management of these is really interesting. You need to take certain actions to get them back, but that slowly winnows down your supplies, so it can be very tense as you get near the end of an exploration, but are running out of dice. Also, the dice tell you very clearly what their most common result is, like 2/3 or more likely to roll that exact result. And the planets will similarly tell you exactly what they're looking for. Now, sometimes you'll move into a location and you won't have the right dice for it, but that's kind of the only time that you're ever like punished in a way for not having matching dice. And then you have these nice cards that let you have a lot of cooperation with the other players and also helping yourself. They give dice mitigation, they give special actions that differentiate the different section leaders. But like I said, there are a few quick caveats here. Sometimes the dice just don't go your way, and the fact that you failed a test, often get punished for failing the test, and then also have used up a ton of dice is is kind of like a triple whammy, which is not great and can be very frustrating if your luck is bad. And also the cards are sometimes a bit underwhelming. Like I don't find myself personally using the effects on the bottom for many of them very often. Maybe that's just me not being a very good player, but either way, they're not as exciting as they could be. But still, this is a really solid and interesting and consistently tense action resolution mechanic that I think works really well. So overall, I can strongly recommend ISS Vanguard if you enjoy big narrative games. Games focus on exploration and storylines more than on combat. I think if you're a fan of something like Seventh Continent or Tainted Grail, the planet exploration might give you a similar feel. And on the other side, if you like base management and tech trees in a campaign like from the XCOM video games, this totally hits that with the ship. But you might want to avoid this one if you're not in the mood for a big campaign, if you don't like dealing with fiddly elements, or if you don't like the potential randomness and swinginess in the core dice mechanic. And if you didn't already see it, a week or two ago, I did a playthrough of the second scenario in the game, so you can click the link there and see how it all works. Good gaming, everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.